Rainbow Islands, yeah! The Saturn core is coming on leaps and bounds thanks to the tireless work of SRG 320. In fact, just a few hours after I put my last video out testing the September 30th build, the Saturn core, a new version was released. And since I made it clear that I want to follow developments of the Saturn core as closely as possible and test as much as I can, here we are. 170 games tested with the October 14th build with a single RAM board. So in an unanticipated follow-up video, I'm once again taking a look at the Saturn core and what it can do in the most popular MiSTer configuration, focusing primarily on those titles that you can play right now. It's all about the games! 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 Yep, 170 games. Actually, 171 games tested. I wish I could have made it an even 200, but my wife said I had to paint the hallway this week. I think she needs to get her priorities straight. Let's go. Once again, I have to make it clear that this is a test build, and as such, there are certain things that are still in development. Sound and graphics are a little better now. Especially sound. It's still not perfect, but it's getting there. And the latest release does add more to the overall experience, along with better compatibility. One thing I did notice after going through all these games is just how prolific Acclaim were during this era. They had their fingers in so many Saturn pies they could have opened a bakery. And just why are there so many baseball and pinball games on the Saturn? I don't know. Some of the new games I tested this week include Battle Arena Toshinden, Crypt Killer, FIFA 97, Hang On GP, Iron Man XO, Jurassic Park Lost World, Mega Man X and Mega Man 4 I think, Mass Destruction, Mr. Bones, Panzer Dragoon 2, PGA Tour 97, Rampage World Tour, Tetris Plus and dozens more. So let's take a quick look at the stats. Out of the 170 games tested, 12 don't boot at all, 43 boot but fail to get to the main menu, crashing or freezing during splash screens or FMV intro sequences. 19 get to the menu but then crash when you try to load into the game. 11 are playable but then crash at some point during gameplay. 6 don't crash but are still not playable for various reasons. They just have game-breaking issues that make them impossible to play. So out of the 171, that leaves 80, which are playable and are actually pretty good experiences. And that's huge! That's a lot of games. Almost 50%. What is the actual figure? 47% in fact. Yeah, they're playable and they don't crash, at least for the 5 or 10 minutes I spent with them. Like last week, I'll put a montage at the end of the video showcasing all 80 games so you can see how they play. So games that I did test last week but are now playable with the latest core include Albert Odyssey and Andretti Racing. They no longer freeze. Area 51. Previously this game didn't boot at all, but now it not only boots but plays rather well to boot. Bobble Bobble Collection now faultlessly loads into game and plays great. Rainbow Islands, yeah! I was able to get much further in Burning Rangers, but it's clearly still in need of graphics and sound improvements to make it a truly playable experience. Still great progress here. Bus to Move 2 was freezing in the September 30th release, but it seems to work fine now. NHL 98 is now perfectly playable, along with Panzer Dragoon and Virtua Fighter 2. And it's nice to see Virtua Racing now loading and playing with single channel RAM. The sound is still an issue with this configuration, but overall the experience is slick. Not my favourite version, I actually think the 32X is better in many respects, and the Switch port is king, but nice to see nonetheless. So improvements in compatibility appear to have been achieved, which is of course great to see. There's clearly still work to be done, but things are moving in the right direction. I think once Garode shading is implemented, we'll see huge improvements across a great many titles. Of all the games that are playable, I've highlighted 13 that are standouts in terms of the overall experience. That is that they are almost perfect with only minor issues with graphics and sound and sometimes speed. But with that said, if you're looking for games that can deliver in almost every aspect, these are ones that you should consider taking a closer look at. So, in alphabetical order, we have Crusader, No Remorse, Darius Gaiden, Duke Nukem 3D,
shooting up my ride.
Last Gladiators Digital Pinball, Myst, NHL 98, Power Slave, Quake, Rampage World Tour, Shell Shock, Slam and Jam 96, Tetris Plus, and Virtua Fighter Remix. As you can see and hear, these titles are working pretty well right now, and I'll be sure to update this list as we see more core releases and I'm able to test more games in the coming weeks and months. And with the next core release, I'm going to test Japanese games as well. Things like Radiant Silvergun, Cotton, Kyo, KO, Flying Squadron, Gale Racer, and others. I'm not massively familiar with the Japanese library, but it'll be fun digging into it and finding games that I'm sure will become some of my new Saturn favourites. And let me know if there's anything you want me to take a look at, because with like over 1200 games I think in the Japanese Saturn library, I just can't even begin to test them all. Like my brain can't cope with that many games. So yeah, any suggestions? If you want to examine the results for yourself, I'll leave a link to the spreadsheet in the description, which is just below the red subscribe button. As promised, I'll leave you now with the 80 games I've discovered that are playable right now with one board of RAM.